Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today got another 1 to 75 leveling guide for you, this time Sentinel to Paladin using Javelin, and we're playing a dot version of it that does really good dot damage and will also heal you as you move through it. Now, it has a small AoE, it can be kind of boring to play once you've kind of gotten into the end game. However, I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to play. I highly recommend it, and it was the fastest Paladin I've ever leveled. Now, news note, there will be a slight nerf coming to the skill in an upcoming patch. However, it will still be viable. They are changing the damage to not be as great as it is, to not scale as high as it is, as quick as it does. However, it will still totally be viable. The healing on it will not be affected, so you will still be able to have great survivability. I only died once in the entire campaign, and we took on Majasa as soon as we got to her, and absolutely had no trouble getting through that fight. Now, as always with my leveling guides, this will be a 1 to 75, which has specific breakdown points. Whenever we put in a new skill, whenever we just haven't put in passive points for a while, I'm going to break that down, show you exactly where I put my points. I'm going to show you why I put them there, tell you about it, kind of tell you what's going to be going on with the build, and try and make it the easiest leveling guide for you as possible. There'll be a written guide, build planners for all the steps, all of that will be in the written guide on the LE forum. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright travelers, we are now level 4. We have not picked up any gear yet. We're trying to sort out the loot filter a little bit here to show some items, but currently the main thing that we're going for is some void resist and some physical resist. That's what you want to aim for. And for your weapon right now, we don't have Javelin. We're not going to be doing the Holy Fire dot until a bit later, level 18 when we unlock it. So right now we're just going to be using Warpath. So just try and get a two-handed weapon with a lot of added damage on it or attack speed. That's really all you need. So for skills, the first skill that we're going to spec into is Warpath. We'll be despecializing this later, but for now we're just gonna put the 1 point in, and we're gonna work towards making it free to use. For passives, we got 2 points. We're gonna go ahead and throw both of them into Juggernaut, and that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 8. Alright travelers, we're now level 8. We get to pick our second skill and our skill specialization slots, but first we'll cover the character sheet. We have almost 200 health, slowly working on our resistance. We do have 16% void, it's really keeping us alive. Try and stack that this early in the game along with physical. Never hurts to have a little elemental as well. We got about 19% armor, and then at the same time we did put on a two-handed weapon so that we can deal as much damage as possible. For skills, we got 3 more points for Warpath. We're going to go ahead and make it free to cast. Remember, we are unspecking this later, but for now we're going to make it free to cast and then go ahead and add in some flat damage so we can just start rolling through mobs in the campaign right now. And then for our second skill, we're going to go ahead and spec into Rive as another damage dealer. Again, it's not a skill that we're going to use at endgame, but it is something that we can spec into now until we get Javelin. And we're going to go ahead and work towards getting that double void damage just for now, just to have a little extra damage with it. So we're going to put 1 point in Trampling 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐷. For passives, we've got 5 more points. We're going to go ahead and put them all into Juggernaut. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 12 for the next one. Alright, Travelers, we're now level 12. We got just over 230 HP. Still working on our resistances. We have gotten our Void up quite a bit, which has been pretty handy. Got about 20% armor, and for damage, again, just a two-handed weapon and inside a Warpath, taking all the added damage that we can. Speaking of Warpath, we got one more point. We're going to go ahead and put it into Void Spiral. And then for Rive, we have 3 more points. We're going to put 1 in Insidious, or 2 in Insidious, and then 1 into Gaze into the Abyss, so that we can do a lot of extra Void damage with it. We don't really have any flat added Void damage, but on our weapon we could put it there, and it's going to double the damage. We're mostly using Warpath. We have 100% uptime of it. It's really all we're using until we get Javelin. For passives, we got 4 more points. We're going to cap out the Juggernaut, and then we're going to start capping out the Armor Clad, so that we can get that damage reduction. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 20 when we spec into Javelin. Alright, Travelers, just a quick update. Once you hit level 18, you do unlock Javelin. So just a quick update. We're not going to cover anything other than the fact that at level 18, you want to unspec Rive, and then go ahead and throw Javelin in there, and you're going to have 3 points with it. We're going to go ahead and spec 1 point into Mighty Delivery, 1 point into Burning Strength, and then 1 point into Spear of the Thigh, and this will allow us to start leveling it up as we get towards our next update when we get the 3rd skill. So at level 20, we'll put a couple more points in there. We should have enough to go ahead and start Holy Trail as soon as we get to level 20. And this is just a quick update, so that's it. I'll see you at level 20. Alright, travelers, we are now level 20, still deathless. We got just over 300 health, still working on our resistance. Got plenty of void, plenty of elemental for the fire and lightning. Still need to work on the cold and physical, and a little bit of poison and necrotic wouldn't hurt at this point. We just want to kind of up them all up, but we definitely have enough void to survive. We got about 25% armor, still not stacking much damage, but it is time to do a bunch of respecking with our skills. So since the main skills that we want in this build, we're going to be going for Volatile Reversal, Abyssal Echoes, we want Holy Aura, and we also want Sigils of Hope. They're all still locked, so we're going to be doing a lot of respecking later, but we do finally have the Javelin. Now for Warpath, again, these points don't really matter because at this point, as soon as we spec, we're not going to use these skills, but I'm going to go ahead and put the 3 points in Void Spiral, so if you want to continue on using it, you can. For here, for Javelin, we're going to put 1 more point in Spear to the Thigh, and then 1 point into the Holy Trail. Now this isn't going to do super good damage for us until we put the 1 point in Path of Judgment, so that we get that more damage per 1% of healing effectiveness. So while we still will get some damage, in fact our tooltip right now says 660, but once we throw on a two-handed staff, it'll even go up a little bit more. You might want to stick with Warpath until you get the point in here. We're going to test it out, but you might just stick with Warpath for now. And then for our third skill, we're just going to go ahead and throw in Lunge. Again, this and Warpath will come out later, but for now we're just going to do this and go for the double charge. So 1 point in Warrior's Renewal, 2 points in Ambuscade, and the 1 point in Double Strike. For passives, we got 11 more points. We're going to go ahead and cap out the Armor Clad, and then we're going to put 7 points into Fearless, just so that we have the 20 points in. We're going to save the rest of the points because we're going to be wanting to unlock the other skills as soon as possible so we can start leveling them up in the other masteries. And that'll be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 25 when we choose our mastery. Alright, travelers, we are now level 25 and we get to choose our mastery. We are still deathless with this build. We are doing lots of damage, and with it we have just over 400 health. We are still working on our resistance. We are still quite high in void. Right at this point, before we start chapter 4, you really want to start working on your physical and your necrotic resist. We got about 24% armor. And then for our offense, at this point you want to wear a two-handed staff. You want as much adaptive spell damage as possible and start building into as much healing effectiveness as you can. For skills, we still haven't unlocked the main skills that we want. Again, we want Volatile Reversal, we want Abyssal Echoes, we want Holy Aura, and we want Sigils of Hope. Now we are about to unlock Holy Aura just for becoming a Paladin, so we are going to spec that in. So I'm going to choose my Mastery first before we do any skills. So we're going to go ahead and choose the Paladin, and with this we'll deal increased fire, lightning, physical damage equal to our percent health remaining. Now what that means is we deal more damage the higher our health is. So if we have 100% health, you're dealing 100% increased damage. So you want to make sure you're at full health at all times. And what's great about the skill that we're using is it heals us every second that we're in it. And then we also gain 1% increased healing effectiveness per point of attunement. So we're going to go ahead and choose that. And then for our skills, we're going to go ahead and unspec the lunge because we don't use it at all. We're going to despecialize it and we're going to put in Holy Aura. For Warpath, now while we don't use it that often, you can still use it in between your cast of Javelin. So I'm going to go ahead and put one more point and we're going to go ahead and just increase the area. We've already maxed out the void damage that we do with it. We have 2 more points for Javelin. We're going to start speccing into the Pilgrimage. This is going to give us more fire damage, more lightning damage, and it will be multiplicative. So 2 points there, and then for Holy Aura, we have 4 points. We're going to go ahead and spec into defense first, and then the offense will come later. And by offense, I mean you're going to get a lot of that fire penetration. But first, we're going to go ahead and put all 4 points into Shelter from the Storm, so that we get the Elemental Resist and the Endurance. For passives, we got 7 more points. We're going to put them all into the Paladin. We're going to put 5 points into Conviction, so we have the penetration, so we'll do way more damage, and then 2 points into Valor, as that healing effectiveness is a more damage modifier for us, so we're going to deal 10% more damage now that we have that. And that'll be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 35. Alright, travelers, we are now level 35. We're ready to spec into our 4th specialization slot. We got almost 600 health. We're still working on our resistance. We've gotten quite a bit of elemental. We have our void up, but we don't have much necrotic or physical. But at this point, it hasn't been so much that we're focusing on that, because as long as we stay in the Holy Trail, we're being healed for so much life per second that it just keeps us alive. So we just kind of keep moving, we stay in it, and all the enemies that kite behind us instantly die when they go into it. Got about 22% armor, and then for damage, not much. We do have 85% damage over time on our two-handed staff. However, at this update, we will be changing to a one-handed staff to take advantage of some of our passives. For skills, we got 3 more points for Warpath, which we never use, so you can really put these points wherever you want. However, for this, we're just going to throw 2 of them into Iron Reach and then 1 into Rolling Still. We are going to respec this as soon as we unlock either Volatile Reversal or Abyssal Echoes, but for now, we're just going to leave it. For Javelin, we got 4 more points. We're going to go ahead and cap out the Spear to the thigh for that 100% multiplicative damage over time, and then 1 point into Pilgrimage. For Holy Aura, we got 7 more points. We really want this fire penetration, so we're going to put 1 point in Rayla's Devotion, 2 points into Rael's Fury for that fire penetration, which is doubled when it's active, 2 points into Vital Boon, and then 2 points into Redemption for that healing effectiveness, which is going to give us 20% more damage over time. And for our 4th skill, we're going to spec into Sigils of Hope, but we got to do our passives first. So we've got 14 passive points. We're going to cap out the Conviction for that penetration with the lightning and the fire damage, both of which we're doing. We're going to put 1 point in Failure for more health and healing effectiveness. That's another 5% damage over time, or another 5% more damage for us. And then 10 points into Heaven Fire, so that when we use a one-handed weapon and we have a shield equipped, we're going to get 30 more adaptive spell damage, which is absolutely insane. Actually, we have to put 1 point in Honor first to unlock that. So we're going to put 9 points in there for Heaven Fire, and that'll give us 27 adaptive spell damage for what we're going to use with a one-handed wand when we have the shield active. And all of that's going to be applied to the trail because of the fact that it has the spell tag, and it can actually add that at double effectiveness. So it's actually going to get 54 adaptive spell damage added to it, and then all of that will be a more modifier to all the healing effectiveness that we have. It's going to be huge damage. So at this point, we're going to switch to a one-hander, and then we're going to continue on through the campaign. And that'll be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 42. Alright, travelers, we are now level 43. We have just over 700 health. Still working on our resistance. We got our elementals pretty much capped. Still working on getting some poison. You're definitely going to want some poison before you start chapter 9. And we're still working on some necrotic as well. Almost capped our void and physical. Got about 24% armor. We are working on that a little bit as well. And because we're running a shield, we do have that block chance, which is really nice for 1 in 4 hits to get another 25% damage reduction on them. Again, we're stacking fire damage, lightning damage, spell damage. You want as much adaptive spell damage as possible, and then you want as much healing effectiveness as possible on this build. That's going to be what makes you do a ton of damage. After that, you still want the damage over time and the elemental damage over time. Both of those can go on quite a few gear slots, and they're going to be really effective for boosting your damage. For skills, we're going to go ahead and unspec the Warpath, and we're going to end up specking into passives for Abyssal Echo. So we're going to put 10 points into the Void Knight, and all 10 of them are going to go into Abyssal Endurance. This is going to do two things. This is going to finish out our Void Resistance and Physical Resistance, so at this point we're capped in everything but Necrotic and Poison. And then one more point in the Paladin, we're going to get that adaptive spell damage so that we do a little bit more damage. Then if we go back to the character sheet for just 1 second, you'll see capped. All we need is the Poison and Necrotic now. And then for skills, we're going to get that Abyssal Echoes. And the first thing that we really want to work into this, there's two things you really want. You want the buff damage to your damage over time. This will give you 100% more damage over time when you hit at least one enemy with Abyssal Echoes. And then we also want the Crumbling, which is going to make enemies hit by it take a multiplicative 24% more damage over time. So that's a big hit. So we've got 6 points, which is going to be enough to get 1 point started in the Crumbling, so that's going to be the first place we go. So 1 point in Vorpal Reverberation, 2 points in Turbulence, 1 point in Myopia, 1 point in Fragility, and then the 1 point in Crumbling. And we're going to max that out, and then we'll start building into the Embrace the Darkness. So we now have an additional damage multiplier to our damage over time. For Javelin, we're going to go ahead and cap out the Pilgrimage, and then we're going to spec 1 point and go for the legs. We're going to work our way over and go for the strategic patience, because this 50% more damage multiplier will affect the damage of Holy Trail. Might be a bug, but it affects it, so we're going to take it and just do a little bit more damage. For Holy Aura, we got 3 more points. We're going to cap out the Redemption for that increased healing effectiveness, and then 1 more point in 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐷 Devotion as we work towards getting more global fire damage. For Sigils of Hope, 5 points in Invigorate. This will give us more healing effectiveness, which means more damage per sigil that's active on top of the damage increase that we get. Then we're going to put 2 points in Iron Sigils for some more armor for defense, and 1 point in Enduring Hope so that it will last longer. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 50 when we spec into Volatile Reversal as our 5th skill. Alright, travelers, we are now level 50. We are in Chapter 9, about to take on Majasa here in just a few minutes. For our resistance, we are capped on pretty much everything except for Necrotic and Poison. We are a little bit lower on Lightning, but if we activate Holy Aura, we are capped on everything. We'll get some Necrotic on this update in our passive tree, and then for Poison, you definitely want to start getting some of that on gear. However, in this build, Javelin, the Holy Trail, heals you for so much that your survivability is actually still pretty high. We got about 27% armor, and then for damages, we're sitting at 76% damage over time. I don't think I have any elemental damage over time on the build, and then we're sitting at 240% increased healing effectiveness already. For skills, we got 9 more points for Abyssal Echoes. We're going to go ahead and cap out the Crumbling, so enemies will take 24% more damage. We're going to put 4 points into Embrace the Darkness, so we get 100% more damage over time after we've hit an enemy with it. That'll last for 4 seconds, and the last 3 into Deep Expanse to increase the area to make it easier to hit enemies. You can also put into Rippling Corrosion to get Armor Shred stacks, which will increase the damage you do as well. Although armor doesn't protect against dots, so it's not really going to make you do more damage with this build as we're doing dots. But if you're doing a hit skill with it, like Warpath or Void Cleave, you can use it. For Javelin, we got 1 more point. We're going to go ahead and throw it into Keen Outlook as we continue to work towards that strategic patience. And then for Holy Aura, we got 1 more point. We're going to go ahead and put it into Burning Blows for that global increased fire damage, which will increase our damage. 2 more points for Sigils, both of which are going to go into Enduring Hope, so that we have a longer duration of them, much easier to keep up 3 of them at the moment. For our 5th skill, we're going to go ahead and spec into Volatile Reversal. We're going to put 1 point into Terminal Void Rift, 3 points into Dark Expanse, and then 3 points into Harbinger of Dust. And this is going to make enemies take 30% more damage when we hit them with a Time Rift out of Volatile Reversal. Now you can go the opposite way first too, and you can make them take 60% more damage over time, but this will be the second way that we build into, so there's going to be 2 different more modifiers here. So when we hit them with Time Rifts, enemies are going to take a lot more dot damage, or damage overall, and it's going to make your build speed up, and you're going to kill bosses a lot quicker. Then we'll work into reducing the cooldown. For passives, we got another 8 points. We're going to throw 3 of them into Holy Symbol. That's more healing effectiveness, so we do more damage, going to give us health, and we start to get some necrotic resistance. And then our last 5 points are all going to go into Sanctuary Guardian, so that we get more adaptive spell damage since we are using a shield. So now we have another 10 adaptive spell damage, and remember the Javelin Holy Fire, it is a dot, but it does scale with adaptive spell damage, so this will make it do even more. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 55. Alright, travelers, we are now level 55. We got almost 1200 health. Still working on our resistances as we try and cap them. We still have quite a bit of armor, still building that up. We'll build into block chance a little bit after we have passive points put where we want them, probably not till much later. And then for our damage types, we got about 76% damage over time. We do have some elemental damage over time, and then we're sitting at 73% lightning as well as 72 fire, so a little bit there. For defense, we're starting to work on our critical strike avoidance as well as our endurance, and then for other, we have almost 300% healing effectiveness now, and we're going to be keeping an eye out for those idols that can roll up to 90% healing effectiveness and try and put on 4 of those 2x2s. For skills, we got 1 more point for Abyssal Echoes, just going to keep putting into that deep expanse for the area. For Javelin, 1 more point. We're going to put this one in Forceful Hurl, and the next one will give us that 50% damage boost. Holy Aura, 1 more point into the Burning Blows for more fire damage. For Sigils of Hope, 1 more point into the Duration. And then for Volatile Reversal, we're going to get into that 60% damage over time taken when they're hit by a Void Rift. So 1 point in Incipient Void Rift, 3 points in Disintegration, and then 3 points in Time Rifts. And then we're going to put 1 point in Time Sap to start reducing that cooldown. For passives, we got 6 more points. We're going to cap out the Sanctuary Guardian, so we get more adaptive spell damage, and then we're going to start putting into Faith and Armor for that critical strike avoidance and increased armor to really start improving our tankiness. That'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 65. Alright, travelers, we are now level 65. We got just over 1200 health. We're still working on our resistances. Our elemental is capped when we have Holy Aura active. We've capped down our physical. We just about capped Necrotic and Void, but still working on the poison. We got 40% armor, which of course, you know, we're still working on trying to get that up as much as possible. And then for damage, we have 35% damage over time. We do have some elemental damage over time, which isn't shown on here. For defense, we have 71% critical strike avoidance, but this is going to be capped as soon as we put in some more passive points, as we're building into that critical strike avoidance and armor right now. A little bit of extra endurance, and then we have 480% healing effectiveness, and that's without the sigils active. For every sigil we have, it goes up another 30, so you can see we can have up to 570 right now. When we spec into the 4th sigil, which we're about to do, it'll be able to get 600% on this build. So for skills, we got 2 more points for Abyssal Echoes. We're going to go ahead and throw 1 more into the Deep Expanse, and then we're going to throw 1 into the Rippling Corrosion. Now the Armor Shred stack, of course, does not make enemies take more damage for your dots, so we're not really going to do much more damage with that, but if you're playing hit damage or doing something with hits as well, like Judgment or something, it will benefit that. But I'm just going to put the points there. You can put it into slow, make enemies slow. You can do basically whatever you want at this point. For Javelin, we have 2 more points. We're going to go ahead and take the 1 point in Strategic Patience, which will increase the dot damage by a 50% more modifier, even though you wouldn't think so, but it does work that way. And then 1 point into Mighty Delivery for additional damage. For Holy Aura, we got 2 more points. Going to go ahead and put 1 into Burning Blows, and then we're going to cap out that Shelter of the Storm for a little more endurance and a little more elemental resist. Sigils, we got 2 more points. We're going to put 1 into Tetragram so we can have a 4th one active. And then we're going to put 1 more into Iron Sigils for even more armor when they are active. For Volatile Reversal, 3 more points. We're going to go ahead and put 1 more in Time Sap, 1 into Time Lost Vitality, and then we're going to put the last one into Traveler's Fatigue, trying to get that cooldown down so we can spam it more often. For passives, we got 10 more points. They are all going to go into the Paladin tree. We're going to put 5 more points into Faith and Armor for that increased armor and that critical strike avoidance. And then we're going to start speccing into the Reverence of Duality. This gives us increased health, increased damage, healing effectiveness, and more mana. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 75 to finish it up. Alright, travelers, we are now level 75. We have almost 1500 health. We're still working on our resistance a little bit. We've almost got our elemental capped. It is capped when Holy Aura is active. We're still working on poison. We almost have necrotic capped. We're looking pretty good at this point. For our damage, you can see we're sitting at 45% damage over time. Again, elemental damage over time isn't on here, but we have about 200% of that. 40% armor. For defense, we're almost capped on our critical strike avoidance, just barely shy. Still working on a little more endurance. And then for other, we do have 560% healing effectiveness on this build. And that does get buffed for every sigil that we have active. For skills, we got one more point we're going to put into Abyssal Echoes. We're going to go ahead and continue to build into the armor shred stacks. Again, this doesn't help you with dot damage. Feel free to put the points wherever you want. For Javelin, we got one more point. We're going to go ahead and continue to build into the Mighty Delivery for that increased damage. For Holy Aura, one more point. Going to build into the Global Fire Damage. For Sigils of Hope, building into the armor. And for Reversal, we're going to go ahead and keep building into the cooldown. And then for passives, 10 more points. We're going to go ahead and cap out the Holy Symbol. This is more healing effectiveness, more necrotic resist, which is now capped, and then more flat health, and then the rest of the points are going to go into Reverence of Duality for the increased health, increased damage, the healing effectiveness, and the increased mana. And that's going to be it. That is the end of the 1 to 75 guide. I hope you guys enjoyed leveling it up. This might be nerfed shortly after this video is posted. The damage might get reduced. It is very OP. It was one of the fastest 1 to 75s we've ever done. And I just hope you guys enjoyed it.